Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I bid to the honorable panels. My name is Fakhruldin bin Abdurrahman. I'm from PISMP TESOL 1 Semester 8, June 2017 intake. Today I will present my research entitled ESL Teacher Trainees Perception Towards Non-Streaming Classroom Practice in the Malaysian ESL Primary Classroom. As for the background of my study, first of all, streaming classroom practice is a typical school management strategy used in the Malaysian education context. As we all know that most of the schools have been practicing this streaming classroom practice in order to improve pupils' academic performance. This is from McCat 2014. Class streaming practice according to academics performance should be stopped completely. This is from Datuk Dr. Amin Senin, 2018, as cited in the Star Online 2018. So, the Ministry of Education proposed that this streaming practice should be abolished because pupils should be taught in a more holistic manner and not only focus on the education achievement alone. And the directive of stopping the streaming practice is in line with the effort of reducing achievement gap between pupils in primary school today. This is the problem statement of my study. Okay. Through streaming practice, the best students are placed into one class, while the weak student will be placed into another class. This is Samuel T. and Simako, 2017. Okay. As previously, Ministry of Education (MOE) instructed schools to stop the streaming practice due to the academic achievement gap between high proficient and low proficient students. Therefore, the advantages of missed ability grouping specific to weak pupils include having the opportunity to socialize and learn from advanced pupils and improve their motivation to learn, as they are not being ignored in the classroom. This is for Heltemus 2009. However, the previous studies about the different type of classroom were concerning on teachers' perspective who have experience in teaching at school. So, this research is attempts to explore the non-streaming classroom practice from teachers' trainees' perception. What is the purpose of this study? So, the purpose of this study is to find out the ESL teacher trainees' perception towards non-streaming classroom practice in the Malaysian ESL primary classroom. To be more specific, this investigation is concerned with both positive and negative effects associated with missed ability grouping in Malaysian ESL primary classroom. ESL teacher trainees may have different perception towards this issue since they have limited experience of teaching school. This study is to achieve the objective, namely, first, to identify ESL teacher trainees' perception on the implementation of non-streaming classroom practice in Malaysian ESL primary classroom. Then, to identify ESL teacher trainees' perception of the impact of non-streaming classroom practice. And lastly, to know is there any significant difference between ESL teacher trainees' perception, understanding, and impact towards non-streaming classroom practice based on semester. The following research questions are to be addressed in this study. First, what are ESL teacher trainees' understanding of non-streaming classroom practice? Second, what are teacher trainees' perception of the impact of a non-streaming classroom? And lastly, is there any difference in ESL teacher trainees' perception, understanding, and impacts on the implementation of non-streaming classroom practice based on semester? Next, we are move on to significance of the research. This research is aimed to the teacher trainees are the future teachers that play a fundamental role toward the success of any curriculum innovation proposed by Ministry of Education, MOE. Thus, it will provide a viewpoint about the pros and cons of implementing non-streaming practice in Malaysian ESL primary classroom. So these findings are very crucial for the teachers trainees to be prepared before entering the school environment and teach different level of pupils. They must be ready to plan various teaching strategies in order to teach mixed ability classroom in the future. This is to ensure all pupils in one classroom are able to achieve same learning objective, although they consist of both high ability and low ability pupils. A lot of previous studies that have been done regarding of the non-streaming classroom practice. Based on the findings, there are advantages and disadvantages of the classroom practice toward teaching and learning process. First of all, I would like to emphasize on the advantages of non-streaming practice. As mentioned by Dukma 2009, low-ability students can get benefits from high-ability students if they are grouped together in the classroom. This is because high-ability students can assist their friends during the learning process. To support that, these advanced students will act as more knowledgeable others, or MKO. This is by Patterson, Balagu, and Ziji. So this advanced student will act as more knowledgeable others, or MKO. Next, I would like to highlight these disadvantages of non-streaming practice. There is a study by Zakia and Najiha 2017. They found that the teaching and learning process is not running smoothly in this classroom practice. In order to ensure maximum result while teaching a mixed ability classroom, it's a very challenging task. So this is from Mirani and Chunowitz, 2015. Okay, based on these advantages and disadvantages, it can be said that it has pros and cons. To fulfill the purpose of this research, the explanatory sequential mixed method design of research was chosen. Okay, it consists of first collecting the quantitative data and followed by collecting the qualitative data to elaborate result. This is from Creswell 2014. This research design was selected in order to elaborate an in-depth perceptions towards non-streaming classroom practice among ESL teacher trainees. So I have a combination of research design which are survey and interview, the qualitative and quantitative. The population and sample for this study were selected from the teacher trainees of semester 6 and semester 8 who were majoring in TEFL at Institute of Teacher Education, Datuk Razali Ismail campus. As for the population, the number of population is 138 teachers trainees. And the total sample of my research is 103. 63 of the participants are in semester 8, while 40 of them are in semester 8. They are chosen through homogeneous sampling, which also known as purposive sampling. Okay. The criteria of to be chosen for this research, as they have the experience of teaching in school through practicum phase. It's either phase 1 or phase 2. It can be both. Before I forget, I would like to add some point. Okay. The number of 103 sample is following the Critchy and Morgan table of choosing the sample. Next, the instrument used for the data collection for my study there are two instruments used. The first one is questionnaire, which is survey. It is a set of adapted questionnaire with closed-ended question. The total number of questions is 45 questions. This questionnaire is adapted from Al-Shamahi and Al-Humaydi's research questionnaire 2015. And this research questionnaire has 7 sections, including the demographic of respondent. Then, my research also utilized interview. This is to confirm and support the finding from the questionnaire. And then the question for this interview were related to the exposure towards non-streaming practice, knowledge of non-streaming practice, and the implication of non-streaming classroom. It can be said that the findings of interview is used to support the research question and the finding from the questionnaire. As all of you can see, this is the research procedure for my research. Before the researcher began the process of data collection, first of all, the draft of the previous chapter was sent to the supervising lecturer, Tuan Haji Azman bin Muhammad Noor. After amending the previous chapter based on the comment of the supervisor, the approval to carry out the current research was obtained. Next, I began the construction of the survey questionnaire under the guidance of the supervisor. The draft of the questionnaire was submitted to the supervisor to cross-check whether the item will be valid to test the desired component. After the questionnaire draft were verified and approved by the supervisor to be used as the instrument, then the sample for the research was selected. After that, after selecting the sample, I proceeded to send a letter asking for approval to conduct the research on the sample from the Director of Institute of Teacher Education, Datuk Razali Ismail Campus. Before administering the questionnaire for the actual study, a pilot study was conducted to test the reliability Chrombatch alpha of the instrument. The data collection process for the actual study started after the Director of Institute of Teacher Education, Datuk Razali Ismail Campus, approved the letter. After collecting the data, the researcher proceeded to analyze the gathered data. Next, I would like to continue with the data collection procedure. Okay, before collecting the data, the researcher gave a brief explanation regarding the research to the sample. They were told to answer as honestly as they could. Other than that, sample of study were informed about the type of instrument used in the study, which are questionnaire and group interview. The process of that data collection took 1 week, and it was carried out during the mid-semester break. Next, the sample administers the questionnaire to the sample by giving a link, which is Google Form link that brought the sample to online questionnaire in their browser. After administering the questionnaire, I conduct a group interview session with semester 6 and semester 8 group. I chose 2 groups of respondents with similar characteristics, which were semester 6 and semester 8, who were majoring in TESOL. For the data analysis procedure, it started when the data gathered was analyzed using quantitative analysis. The data obtained from closed-ended questionnaire of Google Form will be transferred to the Google Sheets. The researcher analyzed the data obtained by utilizing the Statistical Package for Social Sciences (SPSS) version 26. It was a convenient software that suits to statistical analysis function. The responses to each item were analyzed thoroughly and were interpreted by the researcher. Then, the data from the questionnaire were used to obtain the mean and standard deviation. Next, I ran the t-test to compare the finding between teacher trainees of semester 6 and semester 8. In addition, both descriptive and inferential statistic methods were utilized to analyze the data obtained thoroughly. And last but not least, for the group interview, I chose two groups of respondents from semester 6 and semester 8. The collected data was analyzed using coding teams of the response. The results were divided into several different teams to confirm the data collected from the questionnaire. With the findings of interview, it answered research question 1, research question 2, and research question 3 by providing support of confirmation from the teacher's trainees. Then, this is my conceptual framework for my research. Now, we are proceed to the data findings and discussion. Okay, the data findings have answered the research question for my studies. Okay, first of all, what are ESL teacher trainees' understanding of non-streaming classroom practice? Okay. Based on the table and the result, most of them understand that the concept and purpose of implementing this non-streaming practice. This result was supported by their statement during the interview session. Okay. For example, the lecturer explained that pupils with mixed ability are being grouped together in one class. This is from semester 8 group. And then an approach to move our education from exam-oriented style. This is also from semester 8. Okay. All in all, it can be said that teacher trainees, both semesters 8 and semester 8, understand the concept of non-streaming classroom practice, which is grouping students with mixed ability into one classroom. For the next research question discussion, okay, what are teacher trainees' perception of the impacts of a non-streaming classroom? Okay, there are 4 impacts in terms of impact of non-streaming classroom, which are teaching and learning, classroom management, material, and motivation. Okay, for the teaching and learning, the teacher trainees agree that this non-streaming classroom practice brings greater positive impact than negative impact on the teaching and learning. It also contributes more negative impact in terms of classroom management. However, it provides more positive impact in terms of material. And lastly, this non-streaming classroom practice leads to a greater positive impact on pupils' motivation. Overall, it can be said that ESL teacher trainees recognize both the pros and cons of the non-streaming classroom practice impact. And lastly, is there any difference in ESL teacher trainees' perception, understanding, and impacts on the implementation of non-streaming classroom practice based on semester? I have run the t-test method using SPSS, and the result is shown as the following. Okay. Based on the table, the value of significant two-tailed for the variables are recorded at 0.838, 0.602, 0.532, 0.518, 0.556, and 0.659. All the values are bigger than 0.05. Okay. This means that there is no difference in terms of in ESL teachers' perceptions on the implementation of non-streaming classroom based on semester. Both this implies that semester 6 and semester 8 are their perception are at the same level. Let's say if the values are bigger than is smaller than 0.05, it shows that there is a difference between them. However, this research has shown that there is no difference in terms of semester regarding of this issue. Based on the data findings and result, I can conclude my research that teacher trainees had been exposed to this classroom practice and they have knowledge regarding the concept of mixed ability pupils in one classroom. Then they also recognize both and the pros and cons of non-streaming classroom practice. In addition, there were no significant differences as the impact were balanced. And last but not least, based on the t-test method, there were also no significant differences in terms of ESL teacher trainees' perception on the implementation of non-streaming classroom practice based on their semester. Having analyzed data gathered in this research regarding the perception of ESL teacher trainees towards non-streaming classroom practice, there are several recommendations proposed by me. Okay, first of all, the Ministry of Education (MOE) may want to relook the curriculum for teacher trainees institute. The curriculum must be aligned with this current issue of classroom practice in order to develop teacher trainees that are well prepared to teach this type of classroom. Teacher achieve readiness through education and training before entering the profession. This is by Yildirim 2016. Hence, the purpose of implementing a curriculum that suits to the current situation is to ensure that the teachers are ready to face the challenges for their career in the future. The next recommendation is for the future research to study the comparison between the streaming and non-streaming classroom practice in ESL Malaysia primary classroom. This will help the researcher to explore the effectiveness of which classroom practice that develop the teaching and learning of language. Since this study was conducted in a small and limited scale, where 103 samples from one institute of teacher education were involved, future researcher could improve by taking a larger sample from several institutes of teacher education within the same zone or even from differing regions. In addition, future researcher could also improve by including more categories and impact for the questionnaire. This is because this research did not include aspects such as attitude in the classroom, so it is hoped that the future researcher could include more categories as well. And this is the last part of this presentation. There are several implications towards different parties that can be derived from the finding of this research. First of all, and the first implication is for teacher trainees. This study helps teacher trainees to be aware of the current issue that occurred in our education system. The exposure and understanding towards the changes can help teacher trainees to be prepared before going to school. From this understanding, they can come up and develop the various plans and approaches to be implemented in the future. The second implication is for the government. This is because the education department need to recognize teacher trainees' perception towards any issue related to the education. Plus, teacher trainees also have the responsibility to act as the implementer of curriculum in the future. Hence, their voice need to be listened by the government as they may have better idea to improve the education system. I think that's all from me. Thank you, and thank you. Wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.